There are moments when you wake up in the morning and feel tired before the day has even begun. Not just physically tired, but tired deep within your spirit. Tired of carrying responsibilities. Tired of being strong. Tired of pretending everything is fine. Tired of hoping. Tired of waiting. Tired of fighting battles nobody else can see. If you have been feeling this way, you are not alone. Many people who carry a deep sense of purpose eventually arrive at a season where exhaustion settles over every part of their lives. They look around and wonder why everything feels heavier than it used to. The things that once excited them no longer seem to bring the same joy. Conversations feel empty. Goals feel distant. Even rest does not seem to restore what has been drained from within. For many chosen people, this exhaustion becomes one of the most confusing experiences of their lives because they are not weak people. They are often the very ones who have survived more than most. They are the ones who kept going after heartbreak. They are the ones who continued showing kindness after disappointment. They are the ones who carried burdens quietly while helping others carry theirs. They are the ones who remained faithful through seasons that would have caused many others to give up. Yet even the strongest hearts eventually grow weary when they have been carrying invisible weight for too long. One of the hardest truths about being emotionally exhausted is that very few people recognize it. Physical wounds can be seen. Emotional exhaustion often remains hidden behind a smile, a routine, and a functioning life. People may look at you and assume everything is fine because you continue showing up. They may see your responsibilities being handled and assume you are doing well. What they do not see are the silent battles that happen behind closed doors. They do not see the nights when your mind refuses to rest. They do not see the moments when your heart feels overwhelmed by disappointment. They do not see the tears that never leave your eyes because you learned long ago how to carry pain in silence. God sees those moments. God sees every burden you carried without recognition. God saw the prayers you whispered when nobody was listening. God saw the sacrifices that nobody appreciated. God saw the moments when you wanted to quit, but somehow found the strength to keep moving forward. Sometimes the chosen become tired because they have spent years pouring into others while neglecting their own healing. They become the encouragers, the helpers, the listeners, the dependable ones. Everyone knows they can be counted on. Everyone knows they will show up. Everyone knows they will care. Yet very few stop to ask who is caring for them. Over time, a heart that constantly gives without receiving encouragement can begin to feel depleted. Not because it has lost its goodness, but because even the most generous spirit was never designed to carry everything alone. This kind of exhaustion can create a deep sense of loneliness. You may find yourself surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You may have conversations all day and still feel disconnected. You may receive compliments and still struggle to feel understood. This happens because emotional exhaustion is not always caused by isolation from people. Sometimes it comes from feeling disconnected from understanding, from support, from genuine connection, and from the reassurance that your efforts matter. The chosen often carry a unique burden because they tend to feel things deeply. They notice what others overlook. They care about things others dismiss. They carry compassion that extends far beyond their own needs. While this sensitivity can be a tremendous gift, it can also become exhausting when combined with disappointment, rejection, and prolonged seasons of waiting. There are people listening right now who have spent years believing that if they just worked harder, prayed harder, sacrificed more, or stayed patient a little longer, everything would eventually make sense. Yet the answers they expected never arrived when they thought they would. The breakthrough they hoped for remained delayed. The relationship they prayed for never appeared. The recognition they deserved never came. The opportunities they expected never opened. After enough disappointment, exhaustion begins to settle into the heart. Not because faith disappeared, but because hope has been carrying a heavy load for a very long time. What many people do not realize is that exhaustion does not mean failure. It does not mean weakness. It does not mean God has abandoned you. Sometimes, exhaustion is simply evidence that you have been carrying more than anyone realizes. The fact that you feel tired does not erase the strength that brought you this far. In many ways, your exhaustion is proof of your endurance. You carried burdens that few people ever noticed. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. Not every battle you fought was in vain. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Many chosen people become frustrated because they compare their current emotional state to who they used to be. They remember a version of themselves that felt energized, hopeful, and enthusiastic. They wonder where that person went. They assume something must be wrong with them because they no longer feel the same excitement they once did. But life changes people. Pain changes people. Responsibility changes people. Growth changes people. The goal is not to become who you used to be. The goal is to become who you are being shaped into now. Sometimes God allows seasons of weariness because they reveal areas of the heart that need healing. They expose wounds that have been ignored. They uncover burdens that were never meant to be carried forever. They remind us that strength is not the same as invincibility. Even the strongest people need restoration. Even the most faithful people need encouragement. Even the most resilient hearts need moments of renewal. One reason the chosen often feel tired of everything is because they have spent years carrying expectations that were never theirs to carry. They felt responsible for fixing everyone, responsible for saving every relationship, responsible for making everything work, responsible for proving their worth, responsible for earning acceptance, responsible for being enough for everyone around them. Those expectations create enormous pressure. Over time, that pressure becomes exhausting. Real freedom begins when you understand that your value was never dependent on your performance. Your worth was never determined by how much you achieved. Your identity was never meant to be built upon the approval of others. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. Your story has value even if it did not unfold the way you expected. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. Sometimes exhaustion develops because you have outgrown environments that no longer nourish your spirit. What once inspired you now leaves you empty. What once felt meaningful now feels repetitive. What once felt like home now feels unfamiliar. Growth often creates discomfort because it changes what your soul needs. The chosen frequently experience this during seasons of transformation. They begin sensing that something is shifting within them, yet they cannot fully explain it. They simply know they cannot keep living exactly as they have before. This transition period can feel exhausting because the old season is ending while the new season has not fully arrived. Yet even in this uncertainty, there is purpose. Not every season of weariness is punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes it is the space between who you were and who you are becoming. Sometimes it is the quiet process of healing that takes place beneath the surface long before visible change appears. Some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. Some of your greatest growth happened during seasons that felt unproductive. Some of your deepest healing began during moments when you felt completely lost. That is why you must not judge your future based on your current exhaustion. This season does not define your destiny. This feeling is not the final chapter of your story. The weariness you feel today does not erase the purpose that still exists within you. There is still value in your journey. There is still meaning in your perseverance. There is still beauty in your story. There is still hope ahead, even if you cannot clearly see it right now. The fact that you are tired does not mean you are finished. The fact that you are weary does not mean you are forgotten. The fact that you are struggling does not mean your faith has failed. It means you are human. It means you have been carrying heavy things. It means you need grace. It means you need healing. It means you need rest for your soul. And perhaps most importantly, it means that the same strength that carried you through every difficult season before is still within you today, quietly waiting to guide you through this one as well. If this message helped you feel understood and reminded you that your struggles do not diminish your value, subscribe to the channel and continue walking this journey with a community centered on faith, healing, purpose, and encouragement. Sometimes the right words arrive exactly when the heart needs them most, and there may be more ahead that helps strengthen your spirit for the road before you. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that develops when you have spent years being strong for everyone else. It is the exhaustion that comes from constantly carrying burdens while rarely having a safe place to set them down. It is the weariness that settles into the soul after countless disappointments, silent sacrifices, and seasons of giving more than you received. Many chosen people know this feeling intimately. They know what it means to keep moving forward, while secretly wondering how much longer they can continue. They know what it means to encourage others while fighting discouragement within themselves. They know what it means to smile in public and wrestle with heaviness in private. This exhaustion is not always visible. It often hides behind responsibility, maturity, kindness, and perseverance. To the outside world, you may appear calm and capable. People may admire your strength. They may compliment your resilience. They may even tell you that they wish they could handle life the way you do. What they do not understand is the cost of becoming the person who can endure so much. Strength is valuable, but strength often has a history. Behind every resilient person is usually a collection of experiences that required them to become resilient in the first place. Behind every strong heart is often a story filled with moments that demanded courage. The chosen frequently become tired because they have been surviving for so long that they forgot what it feels like to simply live. Survival mode teaches you how to endure, but it does not always teach you how to rest. It teaches you how to keep moving, but not always how to receive peace. It teaches you how to handle crisis after crisis, but not always how to enjoy calm seasons when they arrive. After years of carrying responsibilities, solving problems, overcoming obstacles, and navigating disappointments, the nervous system itself can become exhausted. The heart begins longing for relief. The soul begins longing for restoration. The mind begins longing for quiet. This is why so many chosen people eventually reach a point where even things they once enjoyed no longer seem to bring satisfaction. It is not necessarily because they have lost passion. Often it is because they have depleted so much emotional energy that they no longer have enough left to fully experience joy. Yet this does not mean joy is gone forever. It simply means healing is needed. One of the most painful aspects of emotional exhaustion is feeling as though nobody truly understands what you have carried. You remember every battle. You remember every rejection. You remember every season when you felt abandoned. You remember the times when people left without explanation. You remember the dreams that did not unfold the way you expected. You remember praying for answers that seemed delayed. You remember fighting fears that nobody knew existed. Every one of those experiences left an imprint. Every disappointment required emotional energy. Every loss demanded adaptation. Every heartbreak asked you to rebuild parts of yourself. Eventually, those experiences accumulate. The weight becomes heavier than most people realize. Yet something remarkable is also true. Every challenge that drained you also developed something within you. Every season that tested you strengthened muscles of faith, patience, wisdom, compassion, and endurance. The very experiences that exhausted you also shaped you. This does not mean the pain was enjoyable. It does not mean the losses were easy. It does not mean the disappointments were insignificant. It simply means they were not meaningless. The chosen often underestimate how much they have grown because growth rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. You may look at your life and focus on what is missing. God may be looking at your life and seeing everything that has been built within you through the process. You learned how to continue when quitting felt easier. You learned how to remain kind when bitterness seemed justified. You learned how to keep believing when circumstances offered little evidence. You learned how to survive seasons that once seemed impossible. Those victories matter. They may not have been celebrated by crowds. They may not have been recognized by the people around you. But they matter. Some of the most important victories in life happen quietly. They happen in the moments when you choose faith instead of despair. They happen when you choose forgiveness instead of resentment. They happen when you choose hope instead of surrender. They happen when you get up one more time despite feeling exhausted. The world often celebrates visible success while overlooking invisible courage. Yet God sees both. God sees the battles that never appeared on social media. God sees the tears that never became public. God sees the prayers spoken in silence. God sees the moments when you felt completely alone and still found a way to keep going. Many chosen people become tired because they expected the journey to become easier after all they had endured. They believed there would eventually come a point where everything would finally make sense. When that clarity does not arrive as quickly as expected, discouragement begins to grow. But life rarely unfolds according to our preferred timelines. Delays do not necessarily mean denial. Waiting does not necessarily mean abandonment. Some seasons require patience that stretches beyond what feels comfortable. During those seasons, exhaustion often tries to convince you that nothing is changing. Yet some of the most important transformations happen beneath the surface. A seed beneath the soil looks inactive long before growth becomes visible. Healing often works the same way. Restoration often works the same way. God is frequently working in places that cannot yet be seen. One of the greatest mistakes exhausted people make is believing that their weariness is proof that they are failing. In reality, exhaustion often appears precisely because they have been fighting so hard. You do not become tired from doing nothing. You become tired because you have been carrying something. The answer is not self-condemnation. The answer is compassion. The answer is recognizing that you deserve the same grace you freely extend to others. You have likely forgiven people who hurt you. You have likely encouraged people who doubted themselves. You have likely shown understanding to those who struggled. Now it is time to extend some of that understanding toward yourself. You are not required to be perfect. You are not required to carry every burden. You are not required to have all the answers. You are not required to earn your worth through endless effort. Your value existed before your achievements. Your worth existed before your successes. Your significance existed before anyone recognized it. The chosen often spend years seeking validation from people who are incapable of providing it. They hope someone will finally appreciate their sacrifices. They hope someone will finally understand their intentions. They hope someone will finally recognize their heart. While appreciation is meaningful, it cannot become the foundation of identity. If your sense of worth depends entirely upon external recognition, you will constantly feel exhausted trying to earn what should never have required earning. You were created with value. You were created with purpose. You were created with dignity. Those truths remain intact even during your hardest seasons. Exhaustion may cloud your vision, but it cannot erase your value. Weariness may affect your emotions, but it cannot remove the strength that still exists within you. Some of the most powerful people are not those who never become tired. They are those who learn how to keep trusting through seasons of fatigue. They learn how to rest without quitting. They learn how to pause without surrendering. They learn how to receive healing without losing hope. Perhaps this season is inviting you into that kind of restoration. Perhaps the weariness you feel is not a sign that your story is ending. Perhaps it is a signal that your soul needs care. Perhaps it is an invitation to release expectations that were never yours to carry. Perhaps it is an opportunity to discover that your strength was never meant to come solely from your own efforts. The chosen often spend years proving they can survive difficult seasons. Eventually, they discover something even more important. They discover they do not have to carry every burden alone. God never intended for you to live under constant pressure. He never intended for you to define yourself by your struggles. He never intended for exhaustion to become your permanent identity. There is renewal available. There is healing available. There is peace available. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your soul can find stability even when circumstances remain uncertain. The fact that you are tired today does not mean you will always feel this way. The fact that you feel weary now does not mean your future will be defined by exhaustion. Some seasons are chapters, not destinations. Some struggles are passages, not permanent residences. Some forms of weariness are signs that restoration is drawing nearer than you realize. The same God who carried you through every difficult season before has not forgotten you now. He sees your endurance, he sees your faithfulness, he sees your wounds, he sees your sacrifices, he sees your heart. And he is still writing a story that contains far more hope than your exhaustion currently allows you to see. If these words brought comfort to your heart and reminded you that your weariness does not define your future, subscribe to the channel so you can continue receiving messages rooted in faith, encouragement, healing, and personal growth. You do not have to walk every difficult season feeling alone, and sometimes a message filled with hope can help light the next step forward. The most important thing to remember when you feel tired of everything is that exhaustion can distort the way you see your life. It can make temporary struggles feel permanent. It can make unanswered questions seem larger than they truly are. It can make you overlook how far you have already come. When the heart becomes weary, it often focuses on what is missing while forgetting everything that has been overcome. This is why so many chosen people reach a point where they begin questioning themselves. They look at their lack of energy and assume they have lost their purpose. They look at their emotional fatigue and assume they have lost their faith. They look at their weariness and assume they have somehow become less than they once were. Yet the truth is often the opposite. Many of the people who feel the most exhausted are also the people who have been carrying the greatest responsibilities, enduring the longest battles, and showing the deepest commitment to doing what is right, even when it was difficult. The fact that you are tired does not mean you are broken. It may simply mean you have been fighting longer than most people realize. Think about all the seasons you survived that once seemed impossible. There were moments when you did not know how you would move forward. There were disappointments that shook your confidence. There were losses that changed your life. There were situations that forced you to become stronger than you ever wanted to be. At the time, you probably felt overwhelmed, yet somehow you made it through. Somehow you found another step when you thought there were none left. Somehow you found another reason to continue when giving up seemed easier. That same strength still exists within you. It may feel buried beneath layers of exhaustion right now, but it has not disappeared. One of the greatest lies weariness tells is that your best days are behind you. Exhaustion loves to convince people that because they feel drained today, they will feel drained forever. But life does not work that way. Seasons change. Circumstances change. Hearts heal. Perspective returns. Strength is renewed. Many people who once believed they would never feel joy again eventually found themselves smiling without forcing it. Many who thought they would never recover from heartbreak eventually found peace. Many who felt forgotten eventually discovered that God had been working quietly all along. The chosen often become discouraged because they expect transformation to happen instantly. They want immediate answers, immediate healing, immediate clarity. Yet some of the most beautiful forms of growth happen slowly. They happen one day at a time, one lesson at a time, one act of faith at a time. Looking back years later, people often realize that God was rebuilding their lives in ways they could not see while they were living through the process. The waiting season taught patience, the lonely season taught self-discovery, the painful season taught compassion, the uncertain season taught trust. None of those lessons felt pleasant while they were unfolding, yet each one contributed to the person they eventually became. You may not fully understand your current season today, but that does not mean it lacks purpose. There are things being developed within you that cannot be measured by immediate results. Wisdom is being formed. Character is being strengthened. Perspective is being expanded. Emotional wounds are being revealed so they can finally heal instead of remaining hidden. The chosen often carry scars from years of rejection. They know what it feels like to be overlooked. They know what it feels like to be misunderstood. They know what it feels like to give their best and still not receive appreciation. Over time, those experiences can create deep emotional fatigue. They can make a person wonder whether their efforts matter. They can make a person question whether kindness is worth it. They can make a person feel invisible. But your worth was never determined by the people who failed to recognize it. Your value does not increase when someone applauds you, and it does not decrease when someone ignores you. You remain valuable because of who you are, not because of how others respond to you. Some people were unable to appreciate your heart because they were too focused on themselves. Some people overlooked your sacrifices because they never understood what you were carrying. Some people walked away because they could not see what God was building in your life. Their inability to recognize your value does not erase it. The chosen often spend years searching for validation from people who are incapable of giving it. Eventually, they learn a powerful lesson. Peace begins when you stop requiring everyone to understand your journey. Not everyone will see your heart. Not everyone will appreciate your sacrifices. Not everyone will recognize your intentions. But God sees them. God saw every time you chose integrity when compromise would have been easier. God saw every act of kindness that received no acknowledgement. God saw every moment when you remained faithful despite disappointment. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was forgotten. One reason exhaustion feels so heavy is because it often arrives after long periods of carrying burdens in silence. You became accustomed to handling things on your own. You became accustomed to staying strong. You became accustomed to minimizing your own pain because there always seemed to be something else demanding attention. Yet healing often begins when you stop pretending you are unaffected by everything you have endured. Healing begins when you acknowledge that certain experiences hurt. Healing begins when you admit that some seasons were harder than you allowed yourself to believe. Healing begins when you give yourself permission to rest without guilt. Many chosen people feel guilty for resting because they have spent so much of their lives proving their strength. Yet rest is not weakness. Restoration is not weakness. Receiving help is not weakness. Taking care of your soul is not weakness. Even the strongest trees require seasons of renewal. Even the strongest rivers have moments of calm. Even the strongest people need space to recover. Perhaps one of the most encouraging truths is that God often does some of his greatest work during seasons that appear quiet. The world celebrates constant activity, but growth frequently happens in stillness. A heart can be restored in stillness. Wisdom can be gained in stillness. Direction can become clear in stillness. Faith can deepen in stillness. The chosen sometimes mistake stillness for stagnation. They assume nothing is happening because everything feels quiet. Yet beneath the surface, important things are often taking place. Roots grow before fruit appears. Foundations are strengthened before new levels are built. Healing occurs before confidence fully returns. Just because you cannot see the progress does not mean it is absent. Your journey is not over because you are tired. Your purpose has not disappeared because you feel weary. Your future has not been cancelled because this season has been difficult. There is still goodness ahead. There are still meaningful experiences waiting for you. There are still relationships that will appreciate your heart. There are still opportunities that align with your purpose. There are still moments of peace that will surprise you. There are still blessings that have not yet arrived. Most importantly, there is still a God who knows your name, understands your struggles and sees value in you even during the moments when you struggle to see it yourself. You carried burdens that few people ever noticed. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Your story has value, even if it did not unfold the way you expected. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. The weariness you feel today is not the whole story. It is only one chapter. Ahead of you are chapters that contain healing, growth, understanding, and renewed hope. The road may have been longer than you expected, but you did not come this far by accident. Your perseverance matters. Your faith matters. Your kindness matters. Your endurance matters. And despite everything that tried to convince you otherwise, you matter more than you know. If this message encouraged your heart and reminded you that your journey still holds purpose, subscribe to the channel and continue receiving messages that strengthen faith, inspire healing, and encourage personal growth. May each message remind you that you are seen, valued, and never forgotten, even in the seasons when life feels heavy.